Good morning, everybody. Today's date is December 23rd, 2024, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Tom Kaczynski, and we'll try to do a 10-minute show here just to get you up to date on what I'm watching. The world has certainly become interesting in the last few months, and I'm going to talk geopolitics because it's what I like and it's what I know. But remember, geopolitics could go astray at any time. These predictions are just that, and get right with the Lord because at the end of the game ends. So, with that in mind, I want to first show you my newest book. Ta-da! The Golden Age of Trump and the American Empire, available for you on Amazon, Audible. If you prefer to listen, there's a voiceover of it. I think you're going to enjoy it, and I kind of had a hunch of what's coming. So let's talk about what Trump has been talking about because it's quite interesting. In the past 1 to 2 weeks, he has mentioned the possibility of annexing Canada, Greenland, now Panama, a limited war into Mexico, and what we are seeing is the combination of two idea sets. It's no accident I'm looking at books on McKinley and Polk right now because you have the industrialist vision of gathering resources, the sort of hard conflict that has come back, a great power conflict after the debt system of the West has been defeated more or less in Ukraine. So we are now seeing, and you're going to see this in NATO programming as well, where the rate of defense spending jumps from 2 to potentially as high as 5%. But you're also going to see a race to add areas around the map where the effort is to integrate them into coherent factions. And there's three things that people are going to be looking for here. Number one, they're going to be looking for hard natural resources in terms of the minerals and goods needed for production of an automated and AI economy that's coming forward very quickly. They're going to be looking for energy productive capacity. That means oil, stuff like that. Venezuela's in a bad spot, and I suspect you're going to see some harsh action against them soon. And you're also going to see engagement, which is the third thing that's being farmed. And it's a weird thing to think about, but I'm going to say this in a way that makes you think upside down. We are moving towards the AI economy, and that's the other side of this. We've talked about sort of the mercantile industrialist side of Trump, but what has happened is the technocrats have come on board, and it's no accident that the map looks like something Howard Smith would have designed hanging out with the Haldermans. That is to say, Musk's grandfather, Joshua Halderman, where they had an idea of converting basically North America into something that they called the technate. Something definitely worth you looking up, but as we've seen Musk, now Bezos, and perhaps as thanks to his wife, spending his billions on all sorts of ridiculous causes, the involvement of Peter Thiel, Sam Altman's there at the periphery, you saw Zuckerberg go over there. The technocrats in the United States, in order to win the AI war against China, which is how they think about this thing, are going to have more energy production, which means looking at resources from Latin America and other areas being integrated, and more data being gathered. So, to use an example of what that looks like is Microsoft's partnership with OpenAI manifesting through WhatsApp integration of O3 models designed to further accelerate the development of AGI under the theory that they're going to connect the singularity to a certain vision of nationhood and citizenship. And Chinese certainly think this way, the Russians don't, but the way you could connect the world is by making spheres of influence, because the moment the sanctions of the West failed against the arms of the Russians, what we went back to was the world that existed before World War One. This is not a bad world for the West. As we watch the tragedy happen in Magdeburg and we see rising desire to see people deported who had no business in the West, perhaps now we can break the Zionist stronghold over our politics, whereby debt has been allowed to control everything, and where the U.S. was led astray into fighting a war it shouldn't have fought against Russia on behalf of Germany, or excuse me, against Germany on behalf of Russia and the communist moment that launched the ideological wars of what I would say is the now ending long 20th century that starts with World War One really in 1914, and you can even go back a little before that. You can see the hints of that in communist development, the rise of centralized banking, and recognize that economic model is inherently going to be dead. It's going to be dead because AI is going to displace the administrative class, the white collar class, professionals. I mean, to be honest with you, an AI doctor is probably going to give you better advice than you would have from someone which we've been importing from third world countries, leveraging their expense on education to make up for the fact we've been debt harvesting our own children. That's a heavy thought. See if you can swallow it. I know you guys all like the fire hose. If you like it, you want me to keep coming back, you know the Venmo, CVCPRV, and also P.O. Box 343, Eagle Lake, Maine 04739. I'm still trying to get to Argentina, but by the time I get there, it might be part of the States. I'm not even joking when I think about that, because we are literally sitting on the edge of a Manifest Destiny 2.0. Still some things that have to be gotten over, but if there's enough maturity to recognize that there's an American sphere that may or may not include Europeans as their own sphere or as part of that Western sphere, the Russian sphere, the Chinese sphere, and I'd argue the Indian sphere, then there can be peace. I mean, there'll be struggles in Latin America and the Middle East, West Asia, but those can be managed, and we can understand that whatever happens in those areas, we're not going to see Britain fight Austria or Austria fight Prussia, because it's those wars that are destabilizing to the world order. However, right now there is no world order. There's a question of who will govern where, and hard power is beginning to win out again. And the United States, if it acts wisely under Trump, and this is one of the things I talk about in my book, will utilize this moment to begin integrating components. And there's different ways to do that. I argue for annexing them directly, like I do for my friends in Canada who labor under an absolutely atrocious regime under Justin Trudeau, where the loonie is now down to about 70 cents on the dollar, and the cost of properties are beyond the ability to even imagine, and mainly because the government won't build more. That all being said, what do I expect in the future? People are laughing at Trump's little jokes. I don't think he's joking, and moreover, I don't think he should. In a world of softness, a little bit of strength can go a very long way. And it doesn't mean we necessarily have to have terrible wars everywhere. I think there'll be fights against the cartels in Mexico and perhaps in Colombia. But what I also think is that buying off elites has always been how the empire has been able to succeed. And as we watch the failure of the American Republic because of the cultural wars that I think we're all sick of in the post-COVID era, having seen how that sort of vision of totalitarian sort of woke control works, people just are not going to go for it. And so the sunrise comes into a new era, but it's going to be an era with different challenges where humanity is going to have to fight to keep itself. And people like you and I who are aware of these challenges, if we engage, perhaps we can be the voice of caution in this. Now, does this mean the eschaton is imminent? Maybe it is, and there's all the evidence out there to find it. But the one thing I've learned is, though, even though the Lord is coming, I don't know when. And so I have to keep living, we have to keep living, and we survive, even in the cold of winter. This is not all my hair. That's my beard, but it's making it look a lot more cleaner by wearing this hat. And that way Dana will be happy with the way I look, instead of saying, why do I let myself go every winter? And it's so cold up here. Yeah, the wind chill was in negative double digits yesterday, and I haven't gone out today to deal with it. The chickens are trying to keep warm, and let's hope they continue to do so. So, at any rate, my apologies. What are we looking at in the near future? We're looking for an era of expansionism. I think that the Freedom Caucus, who stood in the way of the debt ceiling, is going to be pushed aside. And I think this isn't a bad thing. We need a new algorithm, if you want to think of it that way, in the West. It no longer makes this where we're dealing with this question of who are the winners and who are the losers in the society. The answer is to grab a couple more pies and then define us versus them in a new paradigm that is externally focused, it's extroverse, it's positive, it's hopeful, and it's trying to accomplish something, because people are sick of feeling terrible. People in Generation Z that had their high school experience ruined, they have had no money. Many people have been forced to live in cars. They're ready to go grab something. And we could say this is bad, but this is human history. This is the fourth turning, and we are coming into a new cycle. And for people like us who've survived much, our wisdom can maybe lead us to say, as we grab things, how do we integrate them? As we move into Latin America, how do we make these people our own? Because let's be honest, Trump won the last election on Latino votes. And that means something different. These are the children of conquistadors, people who, if you've ever studied them, they're as Gothic as any German you would ever find that came out of Spain. In a lot of ways, this solves the race war issue, although a lot of people are going to have to go back, people who were brought in for no reason but to punish the native populations and to try to sustain a social welfare state built on guilt. That's true in Europe, the United States, Canada, and a number of other places. So it's going to be exciting times. I gave you a lot there. I'm trying to keep down to 10 minutes. So think about those ideas. God bless all of you. If you like the program, the Venmo CVC PRV, and I have a little more time these next couple weeks, so expect to hear from me more. Your questions may lead to more videos. Comment, share, like, subscribe. Appreciate it. God bless. Have a great day.